Imagine you're sitting at your desk, just staring at an email draft to your boss.
Oh, yeah, we've all been there.
Right. The project is running behind, and they want to know exactly when the final numbers will be ready. So you type, I will have the report done by 5.
But then you pause.
Exactly. You pause, you delete it, and then you type, I will definitely have the report done by 5.
Which feels entirely different.
It really does. But then you second-guess yourself. You delete that, and you type, I will probably have the report done by 5.
And it's just one word changing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the stakes of those 3 sentences are wildly different.
Night and day. I mean, one of them keeps you employed, and one of them might get you fired if, the printer jams at 4:59.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, welcome to today's deep dive. We are unpacking this really fascinating stack of linguistic research and observational notes.
And it really exposes the hidden mechanics of 4 incredibly common words.
Words you probably use 100 times a day without even thinking. We're talking about actually, basically, probably, and definitely.
Yeah, native speakers use these unconsciously, thousands of times a week.
Right. And what's interesting is, if you look at standard language learning, or even just how we're taught grammar in grade school.
It's all structural engineering.
Exactly. Nouns, verbs, prepositions.
The bricks and mortar of a sentence.
But the sources we're looking at today make this argument that the structural approach completely misses the reality of human interaction.
Because building a structurally sound sentence is, well, it's completely different from building a socially intelligent one.
Right. And to prove what the research is pointing at, let's run a really quick mental exercise.
Okay, let's do it.
Think about the shortest, most bare-bones sentence possible. Something like, it's good.
Okay, it's good.
Right, so if I walk out of a movie theater and you ask me how the film was, and I just say, it's good, my tone is completely flat.
Yeah, you're delivering raw, uninterpreted data.
Exactly. The source material calls it the linguistic equivalent of a blank concrete wall.
Because it communicates the rating, right? But it completely strips out the humanity.
It provides zero context about my internal state.
Right, none at all.
But notice what happens to your brain when I take that exact same sentence and inject just one of our target words.
The paintbrushes.
Yes, the paintbrushes. So if I walk out of the theater and say, it's actually good.
Oh, wow, yeah. The meaning of the adjective good hasn't changed at all.
Not a bit. The movie gets the exact same rating. But I've completely altered your perception of the event.
You've signaled surprise.
I've implied that the trailers look terrible, or, the director has a bad track record.
Or maybe that you both walked in expecting a total disaster.
Exactly. With one word, I've just handed you my entire internal psychological state.
And this right here is the central thesis of the research. These 4 words actually, basically, probably, and definitely, they aren't structural.
They're social shock absorbers.
Yeah, and cognitive levers. They dictate the emotional temperature.
And the power dynamics, right?
Yeah.
And the precise level of trust in any conversation.
They really don't build the sentence. They manipulate the reality of the listener.
So let's start breaking down that manipulation. And I want to start with the word that causes the most social friction.
Oh, boy. And frankly, the one people misuse the most.
Yes, actually.
That's good.
So the sources describe this word as a sort of plot twist, but I want to look at the underlying sociology of it. Why do we need a word just to signal a twist?
Well, it's because human beings are deeply sensitive to sudden shifts in momentum, especially, in social settings.
That makes sense.
So think of actually not just as a plot twist, but like a clutch in a manual transmission car.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Right. When you're driving along in a conversation, there's a shared momentum. An assumed set of facts.
We're cruising in third gear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you need to introduce a contrasting idea, especially if you need to correct someone, you can't just slam the car into a different gear.
Oh, no.
Like if your boss says the client meeting is at 3 and you reply, no, it is at 4. You've just ground the gears.
It's incredibly jarring.
It feels like an attack on their authority or their competence.
It's blunt force trauma. You're hitting them over the head with the concrete wall of your sentence.
Precisely. But when you press the clutch, when you say, actually, I think the meeting is at 4, you temporarily disconnect the engine from the wheels.
You're signaling to their brain, like, prepare for a shift.
Yeah. I am about to introduce a contrast to our shared reality, but I'm doing it cooperatively, not combatively.
So it cushions the blow of the correction. It softens that social friction.
It really does.
Now, that makes total sense for polite corrections, but I have to push back a little on this idea from the sources that actually is always this helpful, cooperative, social lubricant.
Okay, where are you going with this?
Well, what about the stereotypical, well, actually guy?
Oh, right. The worst.
You know, the person in the meeting who constantly interrupts just to offer some minor, totally pedantic correction?
Yeah, in that case, the word doesn't feel like a clutch at all.
No, it feels like a weapon.
You're hitting on the dark side of the word, which the notes do cover in detail. When actually is used as a weapon, it ceases to be a social cushion.
Right. It becomes a mechanism for establishing dominance.
Exactly. Well, actually, Guy is hijacking the conversational momentum purely to center his own intellect,
He's manufacturing a plot twist where absolutely none was needed,
just to position himself as the one holding the correct information.
which perfectly sets up the ultimate trap the sources warn about.
The meaningless filler.
Yes, using actually when there is zero contrast at all.
This is a profound neurological drain on the listener.
Wait, really? A neurological drain?
Yeah, think about it. If I tell you I actually went to the grocery store on a Tuesday,
Okay.
and going to the grocery store on a Tuesday is something I do every single week, your brain subconsciously spins its wheels.
Oh, because it's searching for the contrast.
Right. It looks for the plot twist. Why is this surprising? Did his car break down? Was the store supposed to be closed?
And when your brain realizes there is no surprise.
It experiences a micro frustration. You force the listener to expend cognitive energy for absolutely no reward.
It's like hearing the Jeopardy music play, and then there's no question at the end. It just leaves you hanging.
That's a great way to put it.
And there's a related trap here, specifically regarding the mistake lab error the text points out. The difference between the adjective actual and the adverb actually.
Oh, this is a major pitfall, especially for non-native speakers, but honestly, you hear native speakers mangle it too.
All the time. So what's the core distinction?
Well, the distinction is critical. Actual means real or genuine, like the actual physical document.
Okay.
But actually is the cognitive clutch, the contrast. So if you say, I actual don't agree,
Yikes.
yeah, you aren't just making a grammatical error. You're signaling a lack of linguistic control that undermines your authority in a high-stakes environment.
Before we move off, actually, there's this fascinating quirk in the research regarding British English.
Oh, the delayed clutch?
Yes. They often delay the clutch entirely. They'll put actually at the very end of the sentence. Like, it was quite a difficult negotiation, actually.
And it completely changes the psychological impact.
How so?
Well, when you put it at the front, you brace the listener for impact. But when you drop it at the very end, it operates as a retrospective realization.
Like an afterthought.
Exactly. It's highly understated. You deliver the new information and then just casually apply the contrast, which often makes the speaker sound incredibly secure and unbothered.
That's such a subtle power move.
It really is.
So if actually is how we manipulate friction and contrast, let's look at how we manipulate complexity.
Moving on to the second word in the research, basically.
The sources frame this one as the summary headline.
Right. So if actually is a clutch, basically is an executive function override.
I love that phrase.
And because modern professional and social lives are just drowning in complexity.
Oh, tell me about it.
When someone asks you how the new software rollout went, the reality involves hundreds of micro failures, vendor disputes, budget spreadsheets.
And if you start reciting that raw data, the listener's prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that handles complex processing, is going to redline.
It's just too much.
But wait, I have to interject here because I find basically incredibly condescending half the time.
Really? How so?
Well, when someone starts explaining a concept to me and says, basically the market is shifting, I immediately feel like they've assessed my intelligence, decided I can't handle the real data, and they're serving me the children's menu version of the story.
That is the exact tension the research highlights.
Oh, good. It's not just me.
No, not at all. The line between cognitive relief and outright patronization is razor thin.
So when is it cognitive relief?
When used effectively, it signals to the listener's brain. You don't need to parse the raw data. I have already done the heavy lifting of synthesizing it for you.
So it's an act of service.
Exactly. Basically, we ran out of money.
Okay, that's helpful. So how does it turn into an insult?
It becomes an insult when you use it on a topic the listener's already an expert in. Or, and this is the big one, when you use it to mask your own lack of understanding.
Oh, interesting.
If you don't actually know why the software failed and you say, basically it's a coding issue, you aren't simplifying complexity.
You're hiding behind the word to avoid admitting ignorance.
Exactly.
The sources actually refer to this as a nervous habit. And they quote this brutal example from the mistake lab. I want to explain what happened.
It is painful to hear.
It really is.
Because it destroys authority in real time.
Why do people do it then?
When people are overwhelmed by their own thoughts or suffering from social anxiety, they use basically as a stalling tactic.
Oh, they're trying to buy time for their own brain to catch up.
Right. But socially, if everything you say is basic, the listener just assumes you lack depth.
The word dilutes your message until there's nothing left but filler.
You have to earn the right to use the summary headline by actually possessing the complex knowledge behind it.
You're stripping away the noise, not adding to it.
Exactly.
That leads us perfectly into the second half of this deep dive. We've talked about manipulating reality by softening corrections and summarizing chaos.
Right.
But the final two words, probably and definitely, they're all about the architecture of trust.
How we express our certainty in a world where things constantly go wrong.
Yes. So let's look at the scenario from the sources. Someone asks, will the meeting go well?
This is where language becomes a direct measure of your professional and personal liability.
The research maps out this certainty scale.
Yeah.
At the very bottom, you have words like possibly or perhaps.
Those hover around 20 to 40% certainty.
Right. They're totally non-committal. Then maybe sits exactly on the fence at 50%.
But the psychological heavyweight of the English language is the word probably.
The sources actually call probably the most honest word we have.
It sits at about 70 to 80% certainty. And the metaphor they use in the text is a weather forecast.
And I think that's the perfect analogy, because a weather forecast is an educated, data-backed prediction that inherently acknowledges the existence of chaos.
Exactly. When a meteorologist says it will probably rain and then it doesn't, you don't call him a liar.
Right. You understand that atmospheric variables shifted.
So when you tell a colleague, I will probably have this finished by Tuesday, you are offering your most honest expectation while leaving a small window open.
For the reality that a server might crash.
Or a child might get sick.
But the thing is, human beings hate uncertainty. We crave absolutes.
We really do.
Which is why people constantly reach for the top of the scale.
Yeah.
Definitely.
100% certainty. Zero room for doubt.
Right. If probably is a weather forecast, the notes describe definitely as a signature on a binding contract.
It is your reputation put to paper. Definitely removes the cognitive burden of contingency planning for the listener.
Okay, unpack that a little.
Well, if you say, I will definitely be at the meeting, your colleagues stop worrying about whether they need someone to cover your presentation.
They just take you completely at your word.
Exactly.
Now, I see where the research is going with this, but it ignores a massive, hilarious flaw in human psychology.
Which is?
People are terrified of that liability, so they try to hack the system.
Oh, the mashing of words.
Yes. I hear this constantly, especially in social situations. Someone will say, I will definitely maybe come to your party.
Or in a meeting. I probably definitely agree with that strategy.
They are mashing the words together.
Because they're trying to achieve the impossible. They want to secure the social reward of absolute commitment.
Without accepting any of the personal liability of failure.
Exactly. It is total cognitive dissonance.
It's like wanting credit for being a great friend who RSVPs yes, but leaving a back door open in case you want to just sit on the couch and watch television instead.
That's exactly what it is, but from a sociological standpoint, the listener's brain rejects it. Because you cannot be 100% certain and 50% certain simultaneously. When you mix those levels, you don't sound agreeable. You sound untrustworthy.
You're signaling that your commitments mean nothing.
Right. You have to pick your level of certainty and own the consequences.
And speaking of owning the consequences, the research issues a really stark warning about the dark side of using definitely as a reflexive, people-pleasing tool.
Oh, this is a career killer.
Really, a career killer.
Absolutely. In professional environments, junior employees often use definitely to sound eager.
Right. The boss asks for an impossible deadline, and they reflexively say, definitely I can do that.
They think they're projecting confidence. But what they are actually doing is issuing an absolute guarantee.
And when they inevitably fail to deliver.
It is not viewed as a missed target. It is viewed as a breach of trust.
Because they forged the signature on the contract.
Exactly. This is why the sources emphasize that the most senior, respected leaders in an organization rarely use definitely.
They use probably.
Yes. Saying, we will probably hit the Q3 targets, assuming the supply chain holds, builds far more credibility than false bravado.
Because probably shows that you're analytical.
That you foresee roadblocks and that you respect the listener enough to tell them the truth about the risks.
There's also a specific structural rule the notes bring up regarding probably
Yeah.
that dictates how authoritative it sounds.
Right, the grammar rule.
It has to do with where it sits in relation to the verb to be.
Yes. For it to sound native and secure, probably needs to follow the verb.
Okay, give me an example.
You don't say, she probably is the best candidate. You say, she is probably the best candidate.
Oh, placing the certainty marker after the state of being colors the entire rest of the sentence?
Exactly. It feels locked in rather than hesitant.
Okay, so we have these 4 distinct tools. Actually navigates friction, basically manages cognitive load, probably communicates honest risk, and definitely issues a binding guarantee.
Right.
I want to look at how these 4 distinct psychological states battle it out in our own heads.
Oh, the gym monologue.
Yes, the source text includes this brilliant, highly relatable breakdown of a person's internal monologue when they're trying to decide whether to go to the gym.
It's a perfect encapsulation of everything we've discussed, a real-time transcript of human willpower.
So the monologue goes like this. I'll probably go, actually, yeah, then definitely going. I've been avoiding it all week, and that's basically the problem.
Notice the micro decisions happening in fractions of a second there.
Let's break it down. It begins with probably.
The honest, hesitant weather forecast. The brain acknowledges the intent to exercise, but factors in the, 30% chance that the couch is too comfortable.
It's the brain leaving the back door open.
Exactly. Then the clutch engages. Actually,
The brain introduces a sudden contrast to its own hesitation.
it shifts gears out of lethargy and immediately reaches for the top of the certainty scale.
Oh.
Definitely.
The signature goes on the contract. No more back door.
And finally, the executive override kicks in. Basically,
The brain cuts through all the complex rationalizations, the soreness, the busy workday, the traffic.
and it delivers the summary headline of truth to itself. You've been avoiding it, and you need to go.
All 4 words mapping an entire psychological journey, from hesitation to commitment to self-realization in the span of 5 seconds.
It's incredible.
And this is the core takeaway for you, the listener. Choosing between these words isn't about passing a grammar test.
No, it isn't about knowing whether a word is an adverb or an adjective.
It is entirely about mastering the tone and the reality you project into the world.
It's advanced behavioral psychology disguised as basic vocabulary.
I mean, every time you speak, you're actively choosing how much friction to introduce
How much complexity to demand from your listener.
and exactly how much trust you're willing to wager.
Exactly.
So let's recap the 4 conceptual models you can start using today. First, you have the cognitive clutch. Actually,
Use it to disconnect the momentum so you can safely introduce a contrast or soften a correction without causing a crash.
second, the executive override. Basically,
Use it to provide cognitive relief and deliver the summary headline. But make sure you aren't just hiding your own confusion.
right. Third is the weather forecast. Probably.
The most honest word in your arsenal. Use it to build credibility by acknowledging risk while sharing your best prediction.
And finally, the contract signature.
Definitely.
Absolute certainty. Use it sparingly and only when you are willing to stake your reputation on the outcome.
So my challenge to you this week is to pick just one of these mechanisms to observe.
That's a great exercise.
Let's take, actually, the next time you're in a meeting and someone disagrees with the room, just listen for the clutch.
Notice how the tension drops if they use it well.
Or how the room bristles if they use it as a weapon. Once you tune your ear to the psychology behind these words, you will see them manipulating every single conversation around you.
The architecture of human interaction is always hiding in plain sight. You just have to know what the structural supports look like. But before we sign off, I want to leave you with a final thought that takes this concept just one step further.
Okay.
We just spent a deep dive analyzing how 4 conscious words can act as a crystal clear window into your exact level of certainty, honesty, and social grace.
Which raises a pretty uncomfortable question about the unconscious words you use.
Exactly. If, probably, and definitely signal how your mind processes risk and truth. What do the random unconscious filler words you rely on right now reveal to the world about your inner confidence?
Oh, that's a tough one.
If you constantly pad your sentences with, like, just or what kind of unstable, hesitant reality are you forcing your listener to navigate?
It's the difference between intentionally designing the interior of your communication and just leaving your listener in a room full of clutter.
It is definitely something to chew on. Choose your words and your reality wisely. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
We'll catch you next time.